Hey everyone, I'm Nai, and this is going to be my first video on the channel, and I'm basically going to go over and give my thoughts on the first chapter of Boruto's Vortex. If you like the video and want to see more Boruto content, don't forget to, of course, leave a like and subscribe. Also, comment your thoughts on the chapter, because I'll make sure to get to everyone. The chapter starts off with Sarada standing outside the Hokage office, but before we know why she's there, we get a really good looking double spread of Boruto with his new design and his cape covering his face, similar to how Sei's Naruto looked in the manga cover. We then cut to Sarada talking to Shikamaru, who seems to have taken over as the Hokage in Naruto's place since, Kawaki sealed him. We also see Konohamaru as Shikamaru's advisor. Now I just want to point out that it seems Shikamaru is only acting as the Hokage, because in the flash forward from chapter 1, you don't see his face on the Hokage monument. So it's possible he's never got his ceremony, and while he might be acknowledged as the Hokage, he might not actually be the Hokage, if that makes sense. Sort of the same situation that Danzo was in. Sarada says to Shikamaru that she's explained herself over and over and asks him why he can't understand, obviously talking about Boruto not being the bad guy. And Shikamaru responds and says, "Right back at you, Sarada," and reminds her of the crimes he thinks Boruto committed, saying he's a traitor who killed the Hokage and tried to kill the Hokage's son in Kawaki. Sarada tells Shikamaru that his premise is wrong and Boruto would never do that, but Shikamaru says that even if he wants to lift the death order given to Boruto, it wouldn't matter because he can't convince the entire village, who are still angry at Boruto's betrayal. After more back and forth between the two, and Sarada even getting disrespectful and calling Shikamaru a blockhead, Shikamaru tells Sarada that he's worried for her, and if she keeps this up, she can forget about being the Hokage, and that she'll probably never be more than a genin. Now I know Sarada being a genin still might confuse some people that watch the anime, because in the anime she's a chunin, but just keep in mind that Boruto manga and anime are two different canons, similar to how Dragon Ball Super's anime and manga are treated. After Shikamaru says this, Sarada replies and asks if it's because her dad is a traitor just like Boruto, in which Shikamaru says this has nothing to do with Sasuke, and that she is a Konoha shinobi and should conduct herself that way. Sarada then talks about how Naruto brought back Sasuke, who had done huge crimes and was a rogue shinobi, but he still became Hokage. She adds on by saying, "My role model is Lord Seventh, not you," showing a more rebellious attitude. We then cut to Kawaki checking up on Naruto and Hinata in the Daikoku 10 dimension, but really nothing important here. I do want to note though, that Kawaki doesn't have his clothes from the flash forward and from the fairly recent teaser that we had a few months back. Maybe he gets them later, but if not, I'm okay with it. In my opinion though, his clothes from the flash forward are much cooler, so hopes he get that in the future. In the next page, we see Sarada and Sumire talking about omnipotence, and Sarada says due to the omnipotence, nobody recognizes that things are wrong, and they think that Sarada and Sumire are the ones that's weird. She says to them, Kawaki has always been the 7th Hokage's son, Kawaki Uzumaki, with Sarada adding on saying to them Boruto is a rebellious outsider and an ungrateful traitor. She says that early on, everyone still sensed some sort of inconsistencies, like how Kawaki's body is modified by Akara, but that shouldn't be the case because he was supposed to be born and raised in the village. Even Shikamaru hounded Kawaki about that, but the slight unease slowly dissipated over time thanks to the omnipotence, which further explains what Sasuke was saying to Boruto in chapter 80 when Boruto asks Sasuke why would he help him if he thinks Boruto is an enemy to Konoha. Sarada asks herself, how are they supposed to counter such a ridiculous ability? And we then cut to Ada and Damon, who seem to have not changed much during the time skip. Damon asks Sarada and Sumire why don't they give up? It's an unwinnable game. Ada tells the two that she has no control over omnipotence, just like her ability to charm, but recently she has at least got an understanding of how it works. She says omnipotence is an Otsutsuki Shinjutsu that makes one's desires real, and that it was Kawaki's desire that caused him and Boruto to switch positions, so everything they remember of the two was rewritten. Sarada asks her if there's any way to reverse it, and Ada replies saying she doesn't know, and there's no use talking to those who are affected because they will never understand. Sarada asks why and thinks the truth is reasonable enough that they should be able to explain it properly and everyone would be on board, but Ada tells her to think about it because the people of the village will just think that they're the ones whose memories are considered flawed, so who take them seriously? She says they would be better off to rewrite different memories, although that's a risk in itself. Sumire can't believe it, but Ada switches gears here and starts to question Sarada and Sumire for retaining their memories, even though they're not Otsutsuki or her blood relative. She asks the two if they're really charmed by her, and the both start to get nervous and sweat, with Sumire remembering a conversation she had with Shikamaru about not letting Damon and Ada find out that she and Sarada are not captivated by Ada's ability. Damon starts to stare at them, hinting that he's catching on to them. But Sumire says to Ada that they told her over and over that her and Sarada are just putting up a front and hiding their real feelings, and that no one can escape being captivated by Ada. Ada hesitates but responds, saying that's true, and she believes it to be the case. I will say though that given Ada's hesitation to answer, she is at least skeptical about them. In the next page, we see Kawaki again, this time with Mitsuki, and he tells Mitsuki to calm down because his bloodthirst is suffocating. Mitsuki says he's sure Boruto wants to kill Kawaki, and that they're both Otsutsuki, so it's possible he's mastered the ability to erase his own chakra signature. Kawaki says if he comes to the village, he'll feel it right away, and that even if the sensory Ninja censors chakra, Boruto can't deceive him, implying that Kawaki throughout the time skip is gaining more mastery over his Otsutsuki abilities, but more on that later. Mitsuki tells Kawaki that he just wants to protect him and swears to kill Boruto. Kawaki tells him to do as he please, but to stop following him around like a creep, and that it's annoying. We see Kawaki, I guess, mic'd up talking to his search party, and they tell him that they found one of Code's claw marks outside a wall. Kawaki asks where and flies there immediately, further proving what I said earlier about Kawaki mastering his Otsutsuki powers, but still more on that later. Once Kawaki leaves, Mitsuki questions if Kawaki is the sun shining brightly upon his moon, hinting that he doesn't feel the same now that he thinks Kawaki is his son as opposed to Boruto, which obviously makes sense. We then see Himawari and Chocho training, then Shikadai and Inojin come to critique and congratulate Himawari for her performance. They ask Himawari why she wants to get so strong, and Himawari responds by saying it's not that she necessarily wants to get strong, but she wants to help Boruto. Shikadai, Chocho, and Inojin are confused, but Himawari tells them that she knows it's wacky, but what everyone else thinks about Boruto is different from how she remembers him. Shikadai says that Boruto killed her dad. Himawari replies saying she doesn't think that's true. She says she saw with her own eyes Boruto risking his life to protect her and Naruto, and that a person like that wouldn't kill Naruto. I just want to take a minute to say I think this direction of Himawari's character is perfect. She's one of the few people who's seen Kawaki's selflessness. She's also an innocent child and Naruto's daughter, so it makes a lot of sense that she would be forgiving and understanding a lot like her father. Himawari says that there has to be an explanation, and if that's the case, Boruto is in a lot of trouble, while also telling Shikadai and the rest that she feels like her dad is alive somewhere. In the next page, we get Kawaki shrinking down claw marks around the area, but he sees a claw mark on a member of his search party team's neck, shrinks it, and then we cut to Kawaki telling Shikamaru that Code is making moves, and they need to investigate everyone who was on claw mark search duty. We see random people guessing from the search party, and a claw grime comes out of the claw mark on his neck. They start attacking, and we cut to Konohamaru telling Shikamaru what's going on. Shikamaru telling Konohamaru to start evacuating non-combatants and those who can fight to rush to the battlefield. Shikamaru wonders why Code chooses to attack now. Then we get Kawaki protecting the civilians in the village, and he tells one of them to run and follow the instructions given to them by the shinobi. Now, I do want to point out that Kawaki saying this is consistent with the fact that he doesn't think of himself as a shinobi, and his beliefs that he explains to Naruto in chapter 77 about shinobi being those who die early. After this, we see more civilians evacuating the area, as Sarada comes in and kicks away a claw grime, as she asks herself where did the claw grime come from. I think it's important that Sarada is able to identify the claw grimes, because it leads me to believe that Code and maybe some of his claw grimes attacked previously, because how else would Sarada be able to identify them? We know she shouldn't have any knowledge on Code's army or his plans before the time skip, because Code is in a different dimension where the Ten Tails is located. This is just chapter 1 though, so we'll have to wait for more answers, of course. The claw grimes use each other like claw marks to appear where Sarada is, and we see Code emerge, but I think it's important to note that he does have a scar on his left eye, that we didn't see him have before the time skip. Code greets Sarda as Sarda asks what Code wants with Konoha, and Code replies saying he's looking for Boruto. Sarda tells him he isn't there and that he left 3 years ago, confirming the time skip was 3 years. Code says he knows already and has been looking for Boruto for the past 2 years, which kind of leads me to believe that either Sasuke or Boruto gave him that scar. Code says he came to the village to draw Boruto out of hiding, and then Boruto shows up in one of the hardest scenes I've seen, stepping on Code's face and telling him essentially why he doesn't get females. Code attacks Boruto, but Boruto dodges, and Kawaki starts to sense that Boruto's in the village. Now, I've seen some people talk about how strong Boruto is here, given his interaction with Code. I'm not going to talk too much on Boruto's scaling here just because it's only chapter 1 and we don't have that much information to work with, but I've seen some arguments that are kind of disingenuous to Boruto and I want to go over them really quick. The first argument being that Code was off guard when Boruto stepped on him, and while this definitely seems to be the case, Code on guard then attacks Boruto and Boruto is able to dodge it casually. The second argument is that Code was not at full power here, and well, neither is Boruto. Neither of them have their karma marks activated, and it's more likely that Boruto has a stronger karma, seeing that Code's karma is defective and can't even absorb ninjutsu. Boruto definitely seems to be at least relative to Code, and Code is stated to be stronger than Jigen, so it seems Sasuke really maximizes his training with Boruto. In the next page, Hikamaru gets intel from the sensor unit that Boruto is in the village, and he gives orders to prioritize Code and his claw grimes, but to keep an eye on Boruto and see what he's planning. We get a nice shot of Boruto with Sarada at his side, and the claw grimes surrounding him with the Karma Trio in the last page, and Kawaki saying that Boruto has finally shown himself. And with that, the chapter comes to an end. Now, I really like this chapter. I feel like Kishimoto made a good decision to start this first chapter out pretty fast, because we've been waiting for the time skip for 7 years plus the 3-month hiatus, so Boruto fans were hungry, and I feel like they did a good job at feeding us the hype that we craved for. I really like the designs, more so Boruto, Sarada, Kawaki, and Mitsuki, but Himawari is good also, and Konohama was decent, I guess, although Shikidai, Chocho, and Inojin didn't seem to change much at all, with Inojin getting pretty much a worst haircut. But all in all, the chapter was great. I'm hyped for next chapter. We're seemingly gonna get the Karma Trio, have a free fall, so I'll definitely be there for that. With that being said, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to once again like and subscribe. Comment other Naruto / Boruto topics you want to see. Until next time.